What's up, guys? Mountain Moto back with another episode. Finally, I say finally because I've not been filming for a hot second. I'll get more on that later, but welcome back to the beautiful evening in North Carolina. I am taking this little thing out for one last ride. Bought the bike for the trip. Trip is over. It served its purpose, so I'm just cruising on it a little bit before putting it up, and then someone's coming this weekend to look at it, most likely buy it, so it will be gone. Has served its purpose. I haven't been back on these roads in a while. They're pretty. Last time I was on the gravel was super loose. Now it's real tight. But I wanted to make a video, kind of a send-off video for this thing. Also, I wanted to make a video about the trip, the Trans-America Trail that we took, which if you've followed along on the channel, you've seen, you know, 20% of it. There's a whole lot more to it, but I didn't want to make really long episodes. And I figured it was appropriate to do that on the back roads on this bike as a final ride. So I don't want to make it too long a video. I say that, but it's probably going to be a long video because I like to talk. But it's not going to be my normal video. I just really wanted to go over a few things about the trip. Three things, really. I wanted to kind of touch base on the trip itself, what I thought of it. Talk about how this bike did. And kind of touch base on what it cost. The truth is, I haven't looked it up yet, which is shame on me, but I'll do it later. And I've thought about making another video, just a short one, on preparing for the Trans-America Trail and realistic costs. But I'll guesstimate, which is, it's going to be a super, it's going to be quite a guess, because I don't know. So first things first, the trip. I have never done something so cool in my entire life. If I could get, my gosh, oh, that's right, there's an apple orchard here. But I absolutely loved it. If I could do it again tomorrow, I'd pack up right now and leave. It is hard for me to sit down and describe in a very short period of time about what I thought about that trip, because there was just so much to it. You know, there's a lot of emotions, both sides too. I mean, at some points it was, most of the time it was like an absolute blast, and I couldn't believe I was doing it. You know, it was amazing. It was frustrating. It was breathtaking at times. It was strenuous. there's a lot to describe it. Overall, absolutely amazing. In fact, like I said, if I could do it again tomorrow, I would. I wouldn't even hesitate. But it definitely had its times where it was hard. I think when you're cruising on the roads for a long time, especially when you're little bikes like this, really for me, any bike, because my back gets really tired, it was hard to want to keep riding. I would say too, by the first week, by the end of the trip, we were used to it, but man, the first week was rough because it was hard. Our bodies were sore. They were hurting. But as far as the trip, you know, Eastern United States was this. There's a lot of this, and a lot of 2-lane paved roads, and then back to this 2-lane paved road. And the gravel varied. It was really loose, or it was compact, in between. And it was, you know, it was pretty much what I expected. It was, and I loved it. I love riding over here in the Appalachian Mountains. As soon as we got off of day 6, the episode with we did the Tail of the Dragon, it got really hot because we come off the mountain there and it gets really hot, and it got flatter and flatter, roads got straighter. We did have to, you know, we do a little bit of trail, and we'd have to jump on the road to catch up to where we need to be to try and make that huge loop on time. So there was a trail, and then there was also a lot of highway. So the trip, you know, it was really hot starting around in Tennessee, and that's pretty much what sums it up from there all the way to New Mexico. It was hot. I love the Ozarks. I love riding through that national forest. but I can honestly say Mississippi, but starting in New Mexico, we both said it. Starting in New Mexico, it was like a whole new trip. It was like there was the first half, and then there's the second half of the game, and the second half was totally different from the first, and it was, I want to go back so bad I can't stand it. In fact, I've told my wife, like, I want to go back and show her the stuff that we saw, because it was so pretty. So to sum up the West, it was, I don't know, it was incredible. I would like to make that trip up and down. I would like to do it twice a year. I would be thrilled if I could do it twice a year. I would love to do the Shadow of the Rockies, because I've heard that that's a really, really nice trail too. There's all kinds of trails over there, and when I got over there riding over there is just like, it's a culture, man. It's awesome. Whether you're on a motorcycle, full weather, side by side, it doesn't matter. People love it. People do it all the time. So that's really the trip. I ended the videos. The last video you'll see is me signing off at the Badlands, and that was sort of where we had agreed to stop the trip. I signed off there, and I can tell you I was beat. I was absolutely, so the last night we'd stayed there near Custer. We got a campsite, and while the campsite was super nice, it was next to the road, and we were like 9 miles out of town. But even then, traffic didn't stop until like 1 in the morning, and then it started to pick back up at 4. I didn't get any sleep. I was so tired, and I tried to be like thrilled about what we were doing, but man, I couldn't sleep. I'm gonna be honest, I was getting a little sleepy while even riding. And like, riding relaxes me. Those two, that combination was not healthy. So, but made it through. All is good. So that's where I signed off. We rode from there. We rode further into South Dakota, and we were paying for a U-Haul or shipping the bikes just because of the money. But it got down to it, and we both were we were ready. The bikes were ready to be shipped. So I don't remember the town we made it to in South Dakota, but we got a U-Haul, a small one, and went to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Hung out there for a few nights, and our friend Cody, who was with us on the first week, he brought his truck out, picked us up, and took us back to West Virginia. We got back there, I jumped on the bike, and I rode back to North Carolina. And that was pretty much it. That was the end of the trip. All in all, I think we did around 5,000 miles, or maybe that we did 47 or 48, and then the trip to North Carolina did 5,000. Anyway, basically 5,000 miles around the country. And I would not change that trip for the world. Even as frustrations and the amazing views, the trip to me was absolutely perfect. So that's the trip. I said touch base, but I think I want to run the bases a couple times on that one. I want to talk about the bike. Before that, I'll definitely say the trip was 10 out of 10, and I would do it over and over and over again. Now about the bike. That being said, if I were to do the trip again, now that I've done it, I think I would choose a little bit bigger of a bike. Not a much bigger bike, a little bit bigger. That was really the downfall of this thing, was the lack of power, and the lack of a cheap clutch plates or friction discs, which I didn't know about until I got home to change this one out. But other than that, like we were doing this kind of stuff, this bike killed it. This bike did amazing, especially with fresh tires. This bike was perfect for that trip. Now when going on the highways, you know, I was in the front most of the time, so it wasn't like I was getting left behind, but I was definitely I would say I was definitely holding everybody up. That kind of sucked, but at the same time, I kind of knew that going in. You know, going up a hill, I would have to go down to 5th, then 4th, and if it was steep enough and curvy enough, down to 3rd, just because of all my weight, all my gear, and this little tiny 250. But other than that, man, the bike did did perfect. If I could do it tomorrow, I would take this bike again. I wouldn't hesitate to take it again. I wouldn't prefer to take something small again. But I took this bike for a reason. I wanted to show that this, you don't need an Africa Twin or the GS1200 to make those trips. You can make trips, long trips on these, and it's going to tractor all day long. So I accomplished that goal at least. I didn't accomplish my my spending goal, which I'll touch base shortly. That being said, the lack of power was not even, I wouldn't say it was an issue. It was just, sometimes I just wish I had more power, that was all. But the clutch, man, and I didn't know, I kind of feel like maybe I should have known, but the clutch was half burnt out before I even started the trip. And looking back, it's like, well, yeah, now I notice, hindsight's 2020, it kind of felt like it was not as sticky as the clutch should be. Wasn't grabbing on as well. But when we got hung up in Colorado, like in my video, which I didn't get to film, I just had my camera off because I'm an idiot. But I did pretty much finish the clutch. I didn't finish it, I take that back. I definitely burned it a little more trying to get out of that rut. I swear that had to have been one of the steepest sections in the mountains in Colorado that we had ridden, and of course we both got stuck on it. My one and only drop so far, and I burned up my clutch on that drop. But it did fine. Like, it made it, it wasn't so burned out that it wouldn't work. It did fine the rest of the way. It slipped here and there, but it didn't slip. It wasn't like constantly slipping. It was definitely slipping. I noticed, I'd see the RPMs. Usually if I was in a higher gear, or I went down a gear, and if I let off the clutch a little too early or something, or if I hit the gas, throttle a little too early, it would slip, but then it would catch. So nothing major. But when I got back, started reading about it, I replaced it with the EBC friction disc and springs. I was not about to buy another Honda brand friction disc, because apparently that's the issue. They're trash and very easy to burn out. So new clutch. After I put the new clutch in, now I know it was definitely half burnt out. Because this new clutch is like, man, it grabs. It's nice. I'm actually going to turn around because I don't want to get too fast, because I know you won't be able to hear what I say with all the popping and cracking. The bike, like I said, if I could tomorrow, I'd take this bike. And if they said, you're going to take that bike from now on, would you make the trip every single year on that bike? Yes, I would make the trip on this bike every single year. The one thing I would definitely invest in is a clutch, but a new seat. they're $200-ish, a little over $200. But even with that Airhawk seat cushion, it wasn't out fun. Turn right here. Another thing, I would like to have the handlebars a little higher. I noticed my shoulders were taking a toll more than they should have been. Sorry, my allergies are killing me. But that wasn't a necessity. But the seat and a new clutch would have been the two things I definitely would have changed, hindsight. All right, get back to this gravel road. Go find somewhere else to ride. So that being said, if I had to choose, okay, I did have the choice to choose, but if I was going to do it again, I still think the DRZ would be one of the best bikes to take on that trip. It's got perfect power. It's got all the things you want as far as a dual sport. I do think that would be one of the best bikes to take. The KLR made it just fine, but if it were my choice, again, I would not take a KLR. I didn't take my CB500X, kind of for that reason. I mean, it's super new, and I don't want to damage the thing, but also it would have cost much more to get that thing ready for the trip. But it was, you know, it was kind of the weight, the size of the bike and the weight. I really wanted something, you know, like this, something nimble. But that being said, I would give the bike for the Transamerica Trail 8 out of 10. I'm going to say 8.5. I'm going to say 8.5 is the top. I might even take it down to a 7. Anyway, what I'm saying is it's not the perfect bike to take, but it absolutely is a great bike to take. But that's good for the bike. And it's going to be gone soon anyway, so. Now, on to the cost. This is where I failed miserably for myself. I had a goal that I wanted to meet, and I didn't meet that goal. You know, one of the reasons I wanted to film the entire trip was to film the trip, and I've really been loving the moto vlog scene. But also I wanted to show people that, you know, you can have a small bike, make really long trips, does just fine. And also you can make the Transamerica Trail a 30-day vacation, if you will, and it can be much more affordable than, say, you know, a week with a beach house on the beach, or on one of the islands in the Caribbean, you know, for 1 week. And that was my goal. And I kind of knew when we started I probably wasn't going to meet my goal, because I know me, and we were doing really well the first week and into the second, but as soon as we stayed in the hotel, it was like, this is nice. And I kind of knew, I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen. So we stayed in hotels a lot more than I anticipated. I kind of figured we might here and there, but it was so nice to have a bed. It was so nice to be able to just to get to the hotel, not worry about setting up camp. It was nice to wake up, and if you're at one of the nicer hotels where they have breakfast, then you just wake up, eat breakfast, get your bikes ready, and you're ready to go. You know, you didn't have to worry about breaking down your camp, packing everything back up, then trying to find food, and then get on the road, because that was taking us much longer than I thought it was going to take us. So the hotel and motels, that just worked out. It really just worked out better. And if I were to do it again, I would probably go ahead and save up a lot of money just to do that again. Not only for the time, because time is money and it saves a lot of time, but also because I wouldn't have to take any camping gear. You know, that would have been tent and tarps, sleeping bags, everything that I was using that I needed to camp. I mean, I would take a flashlight still, but there's a lot of random camping gear that I wouldn't have needed, and that would have saved me a lot of space and a lot of time. So if I were to do it again, yes, I probably would do more hotels again and motels, but you don't need to. You can definitely make the entire trip camping. And in fact, you know, camping sites for us ranged typically between $25 and $35 a night. Usually $35 for sites with power, which we didn't need, and $25 for sites without power. And like that split between 3 guys when we first started, you know, that split between 3 guys, that's nothing. You know, you're not spending anything. If you could take 3 to 4 guys on that trip and you guys split the cost of where you're going to stay, that would be nothing. And you could, gosh, you could probably spend as little as $300 for the entire trip for camping. But we got sucked into that luxury and we spent a lot more money, quite a bit more money than I had anticipated. Because, you know, especially out west in Colorado, the hotels, you know, paying for the night of, they are pricey. But I really wanted to stay. We just got, you know, whatever. We got into it. I'm not mad about it. But that being said, that made the trip much more expensive, and I would say by, oh gosh, thousands of dollars for sure, because you're talking about spending $25 to $35 a night versus anywhere between $80, $90 up anywhere to $150, $180 a night, depending on where you're at. You know, when we got into Colorado, a lot of these really touristy towns, I can't remember how much that cabin was in Lake City, but I'm pretty sure it was 140 to 160, somewhere around there. You know, and that was one night, $160 is several nights if you're camping. So went way over what we intended to spend on housing and camping. Again, I don't regret it. I do wish I wouldn't have spent all that money, but at the same time, it was really nice, and it helped us out a lot. So that's the trip in a nutshell. Overall, I loved it. I really do wish I could do it again. I don't have any plans on doing it soon. In fact, I've not been riding. I just started riding again a few weeks ago. As soon as I got back, you know, I parked this thing. I had a few things I had to take care of, which was, you know, that was a weeks long thing, personal things. And then when I got back, I worked on some videos. I would have loved to have worked on videos while we were on the trip, and I wish I could have done them day by day. But in order to make the videos that I want to make, which that's my style, it takes a lot more time, especially when your computer isn't the fastest. So it just was not going to happen. I was lucky to pull that thing out for half an hour. And usually what I did was pull my computer out to transfer the videos. And at that point I had to go shower. By the time I was finished showering, I was ready to go to bed, or we might sit by the campfire for a few minutes, but and dinner, like it just was not happening. So I really wish I could have done it on the trip, but it is what it is. I still want to share. I'm still happy to have shared the whole thing. So so I do wish that was a little bit different, but but then I parked it, and then I really just didn't ride for a while. And then when I started riding again, it's been on the CB500X. It's not been on this thing. I'll crank it up just a little bit. I love this little bike, man. Love this thing. Anyway, but that's all I got to say. I know that I'm hoping I'm going to try to make this a short episode. I'm sure it's been another 20-minute episode because that's just who I am. But I've got a lot of other things going on too that I've started as far as videoing. You know, also started back to work, so trying to crank out all the videos has been a struggle. But they're all done, so it is what it is. And I'm sure by the time I even release this video, it's going to be, gosh, who knows how long. The bike's going to be long gone. It's going to be probably a month at least before I even get this thing released. So if you guys watch the videos and you're like wondering, it's snowing outside, why in the world is he still riding when there's in the fall? That's why. I'm really far behind. I'm also about to get a new computer, so editing should really pick up. I should be able to crank these things out a whole lot faster, because right now it is a struggle with that computer, and emotionally with that computer. I get really frustrated, but I'll get them cranked out as soon as I can. But I think that is going to be it for this episode. I'm going to take this girl back. I'm going to park it. I'm going to lube up her chain. That's what she said. And then I'm going to sell it in a few days, hopefully. But I think for today I'm going to go back and get on the CB500X. I'm going to ride it a little bit. And I'm probably not going to film that. I just want to ride and cruise on the Blue Ridge Parkway while it's still a really pretty day and while it's still warm-ish. So, with that being said, hope you enjoyed this episode. I don't know how much more I'll film this year. I'm sure I will a little bit, but if not, I will see you guys next season. Probably, I'll start early, so probably in March. As soon as my winter gear can handle it, I'll start riding again. But we will see you guys very soon.